Testing, 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 testing. JB here. August 16, 2023. Just going to get on really quick. Thank you, Unknown, for asking me for a little rant. Not much here to talk about. Market seems like it's been in like an ice cube the last 2 weeks. Anytime it looks like the market finds some support, it melts lower. We had a big rally. Was it Thursday or Friday? And then the next day we give it all back. Let's see what days we have here. Yeah, so we had the big rally Monday after Friday's sell-off, or at least down day. Then give back the gains, and then here we are bouncing between gains and losses now after the Fed minutes. So a couple stocks I'll talk about ROKU, Align Trade, Arista Network, which Cisco reports after the close, so I think there could be some more upside if Cisco reports a decent earnings report after the close. Really quick about Weight Watchers, VKTX, and then China, right? So first, take a look at ROKU, and I posted a chart on the watch list, and I posted it in the chat room yesterday, and it seems every time there's a big pullback in ROKU, it embarks on a couple day, 15, 20 day, $20 rally. So I'm not saying the same thing's going to happen here, but if it does, it means that any calls that you have that are a little bit further out of the money that are inexpensive are going to be 5-10 baggers at least. So looked great yesterday. I think it was 84 and change right in the afternoon before the big pullback into the close. Goes from 84, I think, down to 82 and change. Sells off this morning all the way back. I think it hit 78 and change in the morning. Starting to find a bid here. If we get at least some support here in the afternoon, I think if it can close in the green or even 85, I think the 90s still have a shot to pay off this week. News this week, right? The streaming services have eclipsed all the cable operator hours. So there's more hours streamed than there are from traditional cable providers. That's going to continue. That switch from the shift from streaming and a la carte services from traditional cable providers. That's going to continue to go. You have to think at some point it's going to be 75%, 25% for the traditional, and then eventually it's just going to be all streaming and a la carte services. That's where it's going. But I think that bodes well for ROKU. They also struck another deal with was it Peacock? Oh, NBC. And you take a look at the surprises in ROKU earnings was their ROKU channel and their ROKU screensaver. So if you're familiar with Netflix and some of these other streaming platforms, you're on Netflix, you watch your video, it ends, and then all of a sudden their screensaver comes up. It shows all the new content that's coming to Netflix, things like that. ROKU has a similar thing, except it's ad-based, and that's how they monetize, right? So people pay to be on that front page. So instead of it being Netflix advertising their content, it's there's a soundboard. So there's there's Amazon Prime or HBO advertising, or Max advertising Hard Knocks, so just looking at where things are going. People still don't understand the ROKU story, and that's why it struggles at times, because I think people still think they don't understand it. So hopefully we'll get a move here into the close, maybe $83, $84, and then I think the 90s have a shot. Second was Align. Yesterday, again, actually Monday and Tuesday, well, actually I should say Friday was looking great. 10 straight days to the downside after monster earnings. No reason for the sell-off. Then I guess people who were maybe wanted to get out had an opportunity to take profits, but 10 days in a row, maybe it was a stakeholder, who knows. Finally find some support on Friday. I missed the bounce. Monday it did it again, slow and steady to the upside, and then it was doing it again yesterday. I didn't want to be in a position where I missed out on a larger move. The premiums came down on the call, so I went and added some strikes. Goes all the way up to 364 in the afternoon after I get the calls, only to sell off into the low 360s, and here it is at 359.47. Gonna have to see the buybacks or whatever it was that was bidding up the stock Friday, Monday, and Tuesday come back. Otherwise, my call's gonna probably expire. But I'm still hopeful on the name. It seems like every time post earnings, the blackout period ends, and the company comes in and does some kind of accelerated stock buyback program. So I don't know if that's it, or the company says, okay, buy back shares here. I don't know what the situation or the rationale behind the move, despite market weakness on Friday and Tuesday. So despite the sell-off, Align still went up. So maybe it's just a function of the stock being down 10 days in a row. I don't know, but I like the risk reward. That's why I went and got them. Considering after its earnings, it was I think it was $400 after its earnings. So I love the Align story. I guess some people are saying, let's see here. Yeah, it was over 4. I think it hit 410. So, so that's Align. Third one, Arista Networks, talked about already. Another one, huge earnings report. Stock goes, I think it hit 190, 194, 190, maybe, did it hit 190? 191 or so, 192 post earnings. Then it just sold off all the way back into the low 170s. And then similar situations, instead of rallying on Friday, it started its rally on Monday, then Tuesday, then it's doing it again here today. Cisco after the close. Cisco is pretty much I wouldn't call it the older brother or the father of Arista Networks, but it's the one that if Cisco reports, actually even if they report a weak quarter, it kind of just shows that maybe Arista's taking more market share or whatever. But if they report a great quarter, I think that's going to push Arista. So it's kind of a darned if they do, darned if they don't situation for Arista, I think, where even if Cisco misses, they probably still heads higher, because if the miss, people say, oh, wow, Arista's doing really well. And if it's a beat, they say, wow, Arista's doing even better than we thought. That's the kind of thought process there. I lock some of the calls in. I'll hold the rest for after the close for those earnings. WW, I'm trying to, I shouldn't call it Weight Watchers. It's WW International. But I'm still working. There's so many different things I'm trying to put together in regards to just putting my piece. If you've listened to my rants or read the watch list, you know my thought process and my bull case on Weight Watchers. First and foremost is the leadership. You have the new CEO. I wouldn't say new CEO, but she came on board in March of 2022. She wasn't appointed by Weight Watchers. They didn't go out and recruit her. She actually went and got in contact with Weight Watchers like 8 months prior, saying, "Hey, I want to be part of your company because I think that there's a growth opportunity there." So she had just sold her company she founded, House Party, for $50 million. Not someone who's just going to sit on her laurels, and she drove a digital business and grew it to the point where a large company went and bought them out. Now she wants to go and do the same for Weight Watchers. So I think that bodes well. They added a director to a board of directors from Humana, who was the chief medical officer at Humana. I think that bodes well, especially for the clinical side, because that's going to be the big runway of growth for Weight Watchers. And then you just see every day there's a new article coming about, all these GLP-1 drugs, the impacts. You had the study from NVO that came out. It was a landmark study that showed there was a 20% reduction in cardiovascular events when taking Wegovy or Ozempic, one of those. So just, you're going to have more stuff. There already been pieces out saying these drugs may help people who have addictions, drug addictions, alcoholism, things like that. So I'm sure it's not like this market is just going to dissipate. I think it's going to continue to expand the addressable market as all these discoveries keep going forward. There's going to be plenty of fish in the sea for any of these companies developing drugs. And similar reason why I like VKTX. But if you look at Weight Watchers and some of the concerns, and you read the forums and people who post on Reddit and their experiences on these GLP drugs, is there's no support system. It's pretty much they prescribe you. If you take the drug, you lose weight. Once you stop, you put the weight back. Not only that, do you have healthy? Do you have a great diet? Are you getting the nutrients? All those things. Do you have a support system? And that's where Weight Watchers comes in. Not only that, they can leverage their 20 million legacy members who were willing to pay for the Weight Watchers membership in the past. Now with this added benefit and the fact that this new CEO is going to implement the digital side of Weight Watchers, the app, the community, in a way that's going to really grow the member base, and not only grow them, but then have them stay, right? It's the important part. So we already saw that Weight Watchers had their first quarter-over-quarter intra-year growth for members ever. It's never happened before. So this last quarter was the first time ever, and that was without their Sequence acquisition members. And the only reason that the company lowered guidance on revenue was because Sequence was relying on the prescription side and the member base to grow based on the availability of some of these GLP-1 drugs, which are the availability is not there. So rather than miss estimates or set a high bar, knowing that the possibility might not be able to hit that bar based on the supply issues with GLP-1 drugs, they ratcheted down those revenue expectations. But once that supply starts coming, I think, and she said on the conference call, the growth is going to be exponential, or it has been for Sequence. I think it was 40% on a month or no quarter over quarter basis, and that was with the supply issues. So just imagine, I'm sure there's people just waiting for Weight Watchers to help them on their journey to not only weight loss, but their new slogan is weight health. So that's kind of how they do away with the stigma. I would say it's the stigma, but back in the day, Weight Watchers was all about having the meetings, eating right, not doing anything, no drugs, things like that. And now all of a sudden there's a whole clinical side and people are like, wait, what's going on? But you're either going to be a blockbuster, and that's what Blockbuster did. They totally forgot about the digital side, said, oh, we're the best movie. Nobody's ever going to supplant us. And then Netflix went from not only mailing the DVDs to doing digital. And once that happened, Netflix adapted, Blockbuster did not, and then we see what happened. I think the similar story, you already saw Jenny Craig, bankruptcy, they're gone. Some of these legacy weight loss companies that don't adapt to the new environment and what's the future is are going to go. They're going to declare bankruptcy, be acquired, go bank, whatever it is. And I think the smart thing is Weight Watchers saw what was staring them, deer in the headlights. New CEO said, this is the time we have to pivot, and she did. And I think it's going to bode well. But hey, that's what I think and what the market thinks and what the stock does could be totally different things. I think this, once the turnaround starts to really take hold and people start seeing the forest through the trees, yeah, I think it goes much higher, 10, 20, 30, 40, $50. We'll have to see how that all plays out, but that's kind of the thought process there. So that's Weight Watchers. I could probably rant on that for a little longer. So then VKTX, similar thing. I posted on Twitter, and if you take a look at Eli Lilly, that company, every dollar it goes up is a $560 million valuation increase, which is pretty remarkable. Then you take a look at a company like VKTX, it's a $1.4 billion company. So every $3 LLY goes up is one VKTX. And I'm still kind of shocked, especially with what's going on with the GLP-1 drugs, that nobody has stepped in and tried to acquire a company like VKTX or TERN, early stage, huge addressable market. Maybe at some point they do. Maybe again, maybe I have it wrong and the market has it right. I don't know. That's kind of the thought process there. And then last, I wouldn't call it last, but the market here, back under the 50-day on the SPY just now. It's tough to get. If you look, TZA would be a trade that I would try and get as a hedge. And actually, it's hitting highs here, but it's not moving fast enough to offset calls. It's not at the high of the day yet. So I have two thoughts. And the first thought, you look at what's going on in China now. You had the Evergrande, however you pronounce it, the first big property developer defaults situation a while back. That was supposed to be a big black swan event for markets. It did rattle markets, and then markets found footing. And then now you have this garden, what's it called? Color Garden? I forget what it is. Actually, I don't even know if I have that on there. So not only that, you had China coming out with disappointing import-export data last week. I think it was like they missed estimates by 10 billion on either side, and they're both negative. Then you have China stepping in. They cut some key interest rates. They also said they're going to stop giving data around youth unemployment, which why would they do that unless if the number's great, you would think, okay, we're going to report that number. If they think the number's not going to be great, then they're probably going to stop reporting it. So it's a whole culmination of all those things. So if you take a look back in 2015, in the summer of 2015, right about where we are right now, had the similar thing that China markets were tanking. Some of these stocks overnight, the China markets would be down 7-8%. There would be some of these stocks down 30-40%. They would halt them. Just crazy stuff going on. And then all of a sudden, it took a couple days, and then all of a sudden, U.S. markets started getting weak, and then we had the weekend. It was a whole situation. China was trying to stabilize their currency, and then we had, I wouldn't like to use the phrase Black Monday and Black Tuesday because that's already been used from 1987, but it was limit down on S&P, limit down on the Dow, and it was a crazy morning. So many stocks, illiquid, halts. If you went to the list for halts that day, there was like 200 halts in the first 30 seconds of the day. Things went up, down, bounced around. But the Dow was down over 1,000 points, biggest loss at the time for the Dow. And then Tuesday, similar story. Markets were selling off, and then it reversed and went from red to green. And markets chopped around until October. Finally found some bids in October, and then recouped all those losses. I'm not sure we're in a similar situation. People like to say the best indicator of future performance is past performance, or history is the best. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So if this is going to happen again, if it does and it happens over the weekend, probably a great opportunity. Maybe get some hedge puts on Friday. I just don't think so just yet. And if you take a look, the retail sales numbers yesterday, way above expectations. So any glimmer of a recession that people said we were in or going to be in, that certainly doesn't look like it's the case, and probably won't be the case even the next couple months at least. So that kind of alleviates that concern for the U.S. economy. So those are just some of the things. The flip side is the yields, right? So yields keep going up. Certainly not good for the U.S. debt. It's got to be serviced. But then there was a chart, and I have to see if I can find it and post a mail, put on a watch list tomorrow, where someone was able to get the data on all the outstanding debt for the S&P 500. And a lot of the debt is at extremely low rates and really far out, 2029, 2030. So people are worried that, all this debt is going to come due, and it's going to come due from lower rates. They're going to have to refinance or kick the can down the road at much higher rates. Well, that's really not the case. It's almost a similar thing with the housing market. People are wondering why the housing market continues to do well. It's because most people, they're not going to sell if they still have a mortgage and they want to move, they're not going to sell their house when they have a 3 or 4% mortgage rate to go get a new house and pay 6.5%, 7%. It just doesn't make sense. So they're going to stay where they are. So because of that, it's going to limit supply. And then when there's still demand, prices remain stable or head higher. So anyway, that's kind of my rant. I'm not saying I wish I didn't do too much yesterday. I really like to set up on ROKU and Align and Arista. I like adding those Weight Watcher calls this morning. I could have got those 15s when the stock was going bonkers a couple weeks ago on that upgrade. So I'm kind of happy with those. I still have the 30, I think it's 3750s, which are nothing now, but if the stock really starts to move, it won't take much for those January strikes to really start gaining premium. Some tough ones, Tilray, great story. They're great acquisition that they acquired those 8 brands from Budweiser. I think eventually it's going to allow them to scale. It's going to give them some credibility in the market when you're able to not only market a brand that people know and then supplement that with your offerings in the cannabis sector. I think that bodes well for Tilray, but obviously the market didn't like it when it got over $3, and it's been fuddling around here. A BHC, which great earnings. First time they reported a profit, and I don't know how long. Their debt continues to go down. Trades like half times revenues. I think it does $7 billion in revenues. At some point, that's going to go. Tough lottos, so it's going to need to really move there. I'm trying to think. Oh, Ulta. Target this morning, right? And I think some of the reason Target had the big move on the I wouldn't call it the protests, but this day and age, these companies they want to be inclusive and advertise and get everybody on board, but sometimes that some people don't want to hear that, right? I'm here to buy a brand, advertise me the brand. I don't want you to advertise me on your opinions or things like that. Once you do that, Budweiser did the same thing. People are going to punish them. So I think some of the reason Target's running up today is they missed on revenues, beat on profits, lowered guidance, but I think it was a relief that things weren't as bad as people might have thought they were going to be. Walmart's tomorrow, so hopefully Walmart can, it was just at all-time highs, Walmart. Let's see. I didn't even look the last couple of days. Yeah, 3 days ago it was at all-time highs, Walmart. So I don't know if that means there's opportunity for a pullback. I don't think so. I think Walmart's doing great. They're finally starting to grasp the digital side. I'll get back to Weight Watchers, just a quick analogy. But back in the day when Amazon was out, you'd go into a Walmart or Target or some of these big box retailers, and they wouldn't price match. You'd bring in a printout of an Amazon item, and they wouldn't price match it, right? And so to me, that just meant the retailers, the brick and mortars, were so ignorant to Amazon's growth potential that they almost allowed, they were the reason Amazon came to be, because nobody price matched them. So then people would showroom, right? You go into Target and you look at a TV, or you'd look at a piece of furniture, or you'd look at, a pool equipment or something, and you would use those stores as showrooms. You go look at it, and then you go on your phone, you'd order it from Amazon, right? So these companies, they didn't transition, and they pretty much created Amazon. I'm not saying that, I'd use GameStop as an analogy for WW International. But similar thing. So you have the new CEO of Weight Watchers, who came on board not because she was recruited, but because she said she wanted to come, and they finally reached out and said, the CEO position is available. Would you like to come? So you have Cohen from Chewy. Similar situation. It's not like GameStop reached out to him and said, hey, come over. No, he started acquiring shares, did an activist thing, wrote a letter, and he saw an opportunity, huge scale, thousands of stores, huge amount of revenues, declining business. I mean, GameStop, if you think about it, how could they survive when their business was predicated on people trading in video games? So you had to have the physical game, bring it in. They give you a credit. You buy a new game with the credit and some more money, and then they sell that used game for a little bit of money, and then that's how they paid it in margins. Once that went away, everything went digital downloads and then just streaming. You were like, how's GameStop going to survive? So Cohen saw the opportunity, says, hey, there's other opportunities that GameStop could use to and leverage their huge scale. And, if he didn't step in, GameStop's probably not around right now, right? It's just funny how it works. AMC is a little different story for me. I still don't, the CEO I read some of the stuff that he writes in his press release. I'm like, I don't even know how this guy is leading this company. The only reason he exists is the same reason that, not the same, but if GameStop didn't have that rise, AMC wouldn't have that rise either. And then they just used that pump to do an offering, a couple of offerings. Movie theaters, they got to reinvent themselves, but you have to think down the line, it's not really going to be a cash cow unless you figure a way to leverage those locations and do things outside the box. He's tried to hit every buzzword possible, right? Oh, we're gonna accept crypto as payments. I'm like, oh wow, that's gonna really improve attendance at the movie theaters, because I was gonna go watch the movie at home, but now that you accept crypto, I'm gonna go to the movies today, And then probably some of the business that they've seen is because people are AMC shareholders now, so they want to help pad the results. So it's just funny how all this works. Anyway, enough rant for right now. I'll try to work on that WW piece and hopefully have that out soon. Also, there was some concerns, and you read things in FinTwit and people posting that Weight Watchers at some point they have I don't know if it's still 1.5 billion, it's somewhere around there in debt. I think they have actually it might be less now with the Sequence acquisition. I think they have $150 million in cash. But if you look in their SEC filing, it says, we do not see a need to raise any capital for the foreseeable future. We have plenty of cash. Something that's not word for word or verbatim, but it just kind of shows that people who are concerned about an offering, the instant Weight Watchers really starts to soar, that they're going to come in and raise cash. I don't think that's going to be the case. Could be wrong, but I posted that. Oh, and the short interest went down. So, I think there's two sides to the short interest. You have the one side, which I think when people don't understand a story, maybe they do, and they keep shorting it because they're so convicted in their bear case. Weight Watchers, we had a huge amount of covering this last period ending July 30th. New data should be out soon. So sometimes I would construe that as, it's not going to help with the squeeze, right? When we really start to move, there's less shares to be covered. But I think that means that some people are starting to throw in the towel and say, hey, maybe this story is not over. Maybe it's not a zero. So anyway, that's it, folks. Let's have a great day. Rock and roll.